Welcome to Spirit Level, the podcast that explores spirit, mystery, inspiration, and the ancient art of divination through the lens of modern living. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Fiongal.
And we're your hosts. In this podcast, we have a mix of guest speakers asking what spirituality means to them, talking heads between Fiongal and me, our experiences, what's helped us along our paths, and what could inspire you, and maybe some meditations along the way. So some of you may have noticed we forgot to pull a card last week at the end of our session. And we had promised that it was going to be a regular occurrence at the end of each podcast to pull a tarot card. So we will remember this week.
We fell at the first hurdle.
We did. But stay tuned to the end, because you are probably going to get a really good, insightful message from Fiongal. So yeah, listen out for that. So this episode, we are going to be talking about protection. We talked a lot about grounding last episode, and what goes perfectly in hand with grounding is protection. And again, it's two things that you talk about a lot on your courses. It's something that we tell all of our students to do, grounding and the protection side as well. So Fiongal, just give us a little overview about protection.
So the first things first is I don't like to call it protection.
Oh.
But I always have to refer to it as protection because it's the thing that people kind of understand the most. So it's, if you can hear that growling, that's Fairfax, who is joining us today. And he's eager to go out, but he's not going out just yet. So he's scary. He's our protection.
Yeah. He thinks he is.
Beautifully done, Fairfax. So yeah, I don't tend to like to use this word protection, partly because protection kind of infers this sense of, it's a bit like a shield. Oh, I'm having to protect myself against the bad things that are out there. I have to protect myself from this. And, it's quite fear-based. So the word that I like to use more is maintain. It's about maintaining my energies. But again, it's like if I called it grounding and maintaining, I've not found the perfect word for it, basically. But I do feel that it's a better approach to think of it in that respect, in that regard. So what do I mean by maintaining your energies? Well, it's effectively being able to say what is mine, and what is yours is yours. Now, again, that's not about you stay away. And again, there's just so much this thing about protection of, it's about toxicity and bad things and bad entities and, stay away, I'm under attack all of the time. It's like, no, it's just about recognizing what is my stuff and what is other people's stuff. And, that's both on a collective level. So what's going on in the world, what's going on probably even within your country, what's happening locally in your road, in your family, and then what's happening in your kind of immediate surroundings, and then what's happening with you. So there's a lot going on, and we can be influenced by all of that. And some of that's very good, very positive, but also some of that is kind of colors our experiences or makes us understand and see things that in a way that aren't perhaps so conducive. And please remember that as much as you're maintaining your energies or quote unquote protecting your energy against somebody else, they're doing exactly the same thing against you. So sometimes our energy for people it doesn't necessarily vibe, or I'm going to meet people at the party and they're going to think, I don't like Fiongal very much, and they'll kind of want to back away. And that's not a personal thing. That is just because we're all different. And no, it's very much that thing where we say to people, they've got a really lovely aura about them. Again, that's what we're picking up on. So again, this maintaining of the energy and auras, I won't go too much into what the aura is. But again, it's that energetic egg that surrounds us. So again, it's part of our lexicon. So it's not a far-fetched concept. It's like, he's got a lovely aura about him, or she's got a lovely aura around her, glow around her. When we're able to pick up and tune into that, and we're all doing that, that's not just a psychic just for psychics and intuitives, everybody across the board has that kind of sixth sense. Just remember that as much as you're maintaining your energies, other people are doing that for you as well, or against you.
Yeah, it makes me think of when we talk about protecting, it makes me think of when I perhaps walk into a room, or I remember it happened to me when I went in to teach a yoga class once in London. And I went in feeling absolutely fine.
Yes.
There's a room of about 15 people. And there was a couple of people in the room. And it's funny when you're teaching because sometimes it can be your stuff and you're thinking that people are hating every single minute of the class. And they're not. And afterwards, people are like, oh my God, that was the best class I've ever done. And you're like, really? Well, you could have shown your face. But it's like, no, do you know what I mean? But you think, actually, you don't quite know what's going on. But very occasionally, there are moments when somebody has brought an energy into that room that isn't so light, right?
Very diplomatically said.
And if you are an empath, if you're somebody that very easily picks up on other people's energies, it could be quite easy for you to leave that space taking on some of their stuff.
Totally.
So I remember going into this particular yoga class feeling absolutely fine and coming out at the end with a stinking headache. And I remember you saying to me, did you check, was that yours? And I was like, oh, this was quite early on, I think, quite a few years back when I hadn't delved so deep into all of this stuff. And then connecting the dots that actually, no, there were a couple of people in that class that I distinctly remember that probably weren't in a great place and had brought something in with them. And I had picked up on that and taken some of that off them, particularly if you're doing hands-on adjusts, you know, so I may well have gone round and adjusted them. Straight away when you touch somebody, you pick up on their energy even more. So I in essence, maybe they went out feeling better and I came out feeling worse.
100%. Yeah, I love everything that you've just said there. One example that kind of not practical example, but a lived example of mine is I remember I used to work in Brixton and I used to study at the College of Psychic Studies in Kensington, and I would walk that route every once in a while. It's quite a fair distance, but I used to really like the walk. And there was a particular point on my walk that I'd have to go on this underpass, and it never had, you know, underpasses in London are grotty at the best of times. They often stink of wee and, you know, graffiti everywhere. But I remember going onto this underpass and I never had a great sense of it. But I remember one time walking and getting increasingly more depressed.
Right.
That by the time I got to college, I felt really like just really down and just miserable, grumpy, frustrated. And my tutor saying, "Is it yours?" And the moment I said, "Take away anything that doesn't belong to me," it all lifted. Just like a cloud, like this smog, everything just parted. I was just like, oh God. And he says, "Yeah, it's not yours."
So that was more environmental, was it?
Totally.
So it doesn't even have to be an exchange from a person.
No.
It can be you going through maybe an energetically dark or grimy place.
Totally. You know, we can think of it, yes, we think of it very in terms of people, but, you know, all places have a memory. You know, you go to places of atrocities and it just permeates this kind of, there's this vibration about it. So, and often it sounds a bit strange, but it's often around doorways or in corners or near the floor, all of that stuff. There's a reason that when we laugh, we throw our head back and it's very high, but when we sob, we kind of curl down and it goes towards the floor. So absolutely, it can be both environmental and to do with people. Slightly
off topic, but maybe not. I've just had a memory of one of the times when we first met. Well, not when we first met. We'd been together a while. Actually, it was in lockdown, early lockdown. I was living in Tooting and we were in that room at the front. And remember, you hadn't kind of, I think maybe you'd done a little reading for me, but I hadn't really got to know you as this kind of psychic being at that point, because we were just kind of having fun getting to know each other. But do you remember we'd lay on the bed and you were like, "Oh, hold on 1 minute." And there was an entity up on the top of the wardrobe.
Yeah. I do remember. Yeah, I had.
I don't know why this has
completely
just
forgotten
popped
about that,
in, but again, about energetically kind of dirty or, groggy places. Not groggy. That's not the word, is it? Groggy.
Yeah, I quite like groggy.
And do you remember you were like, you did this whole thing to kind of get rid of it. And I mean, not back then I was like, what the hell is he doing? And was quite freaked out. And now I'm like, oh yeah, it's fine.
That is a real trial by fire. I'm absolutely amazed you're still with me.
Yeah.
Imagine if somebody else did that on it. Like, yeah, we'd only been going out for a few months. Oh, bless you. You have gone through the mill. You've gone through some experiences. Yeah, so there's so much I want to say on this. Like my brain is firing off in so many directions. And one of the first things, the most kind of practical way, and I think this is really important, that like if I could only give one takeaway from today, is if you are feeling kind of out of balance or off kilter, or suddenly feeling a strong kind of emotional sense that doesn't feel as though it's in relation to what's going on with you, always say, right, guides, universe, God, Allah, whoever you see as a kind of greater power, just say, if this, whatever doesn't belong to me, take it away. And so many times, as I say, I've just felt this instant lift of, oh, it's like taking off a rucksack, like a heavy rucksack, and you just think, oh, that's so much better. The depressing times is when you ask that and you feel exactly the same, and you're like, oh no, this is my stuff. But again, it's really, really important. And to go back to your earlier point, absolutely, it's very much more those that are used to working with people in proximity, particularly kind of healing or energetic or spiritual ways. So people like yoga, even masseurs, therapists. Me in readings, it's hugely important, but and also just if you're enormously empathic. So I often call it empath's overwhelm. Yeah, where I'm sure many of hopefully our listeners or viewers can identify with these times that people just come up and seem to tell you their life story, or exactly as you say, they just kind of emotionally vomit on you, and then they're like, oh, I feel so much better, and you're like, of course you do, you've just dumped it all on me. So it's that particular band that have to be hyper vigilant, but it does apply to everybody. It is really, really important to be aware of this stuff. But it's exactly as you say, it's about that transference and making sure that you don't take that on. And it's something, again, that I really had to learn the hard way in my practice. And you've seen me at the kind of tail end of perhaps not being, I link all of this, I dub all of this, put this under the umbrella of spiritual hygiene. Yeah. So just like we shower, just like we brush our teeth, just like we, there's hopefully a basic level of hygiene there. So too, we have to remain spiritually hygienic, and particularly if we're interested in this field, working in this field, feel very sensitive, feel very empathetic. You've got to be hyper vigilant in that respect. Again, that's not a fear-based thing. That's a self-care based thing, and again, we'll give some kind of practical ways to kind of maintain your energies, but it's just, again, being a little bit mindful of, because I'm like that, because people seem to tell me their problems, because I'm kind of easily pick up on the emotions of other people, because, it's often if you're sitting on the bus and somebody that's quite clearly disturbed comes and sits right next to you, again, that's usually a sign that you're quite energetically open or kind of very empathetic. So these are the times that you have to be slightly more, you have to be on top of it more than other people. So what examples are there, I wonder, that simple examples that we can give to people of maintaining their energies or protecting themselves? So what I might start with, what are some signs that you might not be kind of maintaining your energies as much as you perhaps should? So your example is perfect in terms of headaches. Like getting headaches. I very, very, very rarely get headaches. And, drink enough water, kids. Usually that's 9 times out of 10 the reason. Or hangovers. Please don't blame hangovers on not maintaining your energies properly. But if you get those kind of migraines or those kind of, that's often a big sign. If you feel a certain sense of emotional unease, and again, you can't quite place it, that can be a sign. If you feel sudden, I know this sounds a bit strange, but if you feel sudden twangs, like energetic twangs, sometimes I can feel like, I know it sounds a bit kind of untoward, but I can sometimes feel like I've been stabbed in the back, so to speak. It's like an energetic stab in the back. It's like, ow, oh gosh, what was that? You can get those twangs that seem to kind of come from nowhere. That's often a sign. Again, if you're feeling a little bit low and feeling quite sluggish, that can be a sign that you're not maintaining your energies. Or again, that you feel the only way I can describe it is energetically clogged up or energetically lethargic or energetically backlogged. This is often a sign that you're holding on to a lot more than perhaps you need to. Again, if we think of it in terms of the chakras, the solar plexus is the energy center in which we store a lot of this too. So if you're feeling, again, quite congested around that point just above the navel, around the sternum, just below the sternum, if that's feeling quite compacted, again, it's probably a sign that you're not necessarily maintaining your energies as much as you can do. So yeah, that tends to be some of the kind of symptoms, for want of a better term. And then, sorry, I think your question was how to...
Yes, you decided to go completely around my question and just go off on your own tangent, but that's all right. That's fine. Feel free to get to it when you're ready. You know, I'm happy just to be led by you.
It's not passive aggressive at all. It's quite right. I'm sorry.
No, it's there was an order, and
there was an order. There was an order to the madness.
So what can people do to maintain their energies?
So first and foremost is it's just about kind of going, right, what doesn't belong to me, please take it away. So that's the kind of the easiest go-to.
Yeah, and just on that note, that's something that I often forget to do, and and people listening might think, what is he talking about? Mm-hmm. But actually, just asking for help in whatever way, voicing it, whether that's speaking out loud in your mind. This can sound bonkers, but it's a bit linking to that idea of manifestation, isn't it? Which will be a whole nother episode.
Yeah, but it's intention.
It's intention, right? And I talk about intention in my yoga class. Without intention, without saying, I am going to do this, then this will never happen. Totally. So when we're voicing it, when we're asking for something to happen, no matter what you think, no matter who you think you're asking or whoever you believe you're asking, ask for it to be taken away. Totally. The headache to be and the amount of times you've said to me, and I do suffer, I am somebody, luckily it's not happened for a while, but I do suffer with migraines, and I can go through periods of perhaps a month or two of having daily headaches, and it's hideous. And I remember you saying to me once, have you asked for it to be taken away? Is it yours? And I did it, and actually it went quite quickly. It's not saying it doesn't come back. Quite often it comes back, but I was really amazed. I remember that first time I did that, and I just got still. I was doing a bit of breath work. I was present, and I just said, please, guides, spirits, universe, dad, anybody there that's on my side, take this away for me. And it did go quite quickly.
Yeah, because if we subscribe to this idea that it's mind, body, and soul, we sometimes don't know on what level that ailment is. So we don't know if it is just, even if this is all just psychosomatic, it doesn't matter.
Well, who cares? Who cares?
If it works?
Exactly. And I think that's the problem. We get too caught up sometimes in this thing of the mechanics of it all.
Totally.
Actually, does it matter if it's working?
Totally. Exactly.
Looking to deepen your spiritual practice and holistic well-being? Then we have the answer. Here at the Wellness Foundry, we run spiritual retreats throughout the year in both the UK and abroad, with an emphasis on luxury, community, and spirituality. Expect a soul-enriching blend of yoga, profound intuitive teachings, delicious food, all within an idyllic setting. Use code podcast5 at checkout and enjoy 5% off your booking. For more information and bookings, visit the website wellnessfoundry.co.uk/retreats, or find out more on our Instagram @Wellness Foundry. Terms and conditions apply.
So some other kind of ways, one of the big things around maintaining your energies is boundaries.
Yes.
If you've got terrible boundaries,
Yes.
You're going to be picking up, people are going to just dump their stuff on you. This again is why it's quite a convoluted thing. And I don't want to kind of finger wag or make people listening or watching feel kind of, am I doing something wrong? I must be a terrible person. Because it's really natural that if you are by nature compassionate and empathetic, you want to help people. You want to kind of support, you want to extend, you want to kind of be a support to people. And that's very, very commendable. And we need as much of that as possible. It is that thing though of you can't fill from an empty cup.
Yes.
So your number one priority and responsibility is to maintain your own energies, because the more you're able to do that, the more you're able to ground and maintain, the more you're able to give.
Yeah.
So those times that you feel and again, I do this a lot. I give a lot. I have to in my readings. And I get to this kind of point where I realize I've just been extending that giving too long. And you've seen me, usually after 2 full days of reading, I just have to almost lay in a darkened room and just kind of recoup my energies. So it's about bringing things back into to balance. And part of the boundaries can just be simply, I'd love to help, but I can't at the moment. Or I can't help in the way that you would perhaps like. What about this? It's being able to understand that it's kind of navigating around martyrdom, basically, or depleting yourself by learning the positive no is a lot to do with maintaining and protecting your energies. Just being able to say, I'm sorry, that doesn't make me feel comfortable, or I'd love to help you at the moment, I can't right now, but please ask me in a week when I'm feeling a bit more recouped, or whatever. Is about understanding your capacity. And again, it goes very much to what we were talking before in the grounding episode. Check it out if you haven't heard it. But if you're not grounded, because you won't have that self-awareness enough to go, actually, I'm a bit depleted. Actually, this isn't mine. Actually, I need to bring things back into balance a little bit more. So it's a lot to do with boundaries. And please also, boundaries is not telling everyone to
back off.
I'm maintaining a boundary, back off. Again, it's slightly swayed a bit too much the other way. I've noticed sometimes it's like, I'm maintaining a boundary.
But it depends what kind of person you are. If you are a people pleaser, that's what it makes me think of.
Totally.
And I've got friends who are very much in that realm.
Totally.
I'm not, I don't think. I think I'm probably quite kind of...
You're quite good with the boundary,
quite
Jamie.
good with that, yeah. But some people do. They don't like saying no, and then it gets them into bother, right? Because they can't actually deliver on what they're saying, which then causes anxiety and stress and worry, and both parties feel uncomfortable. So actually the solution would be to have that boundary in the first place. And when you're asked something that you can't deliver, you say no. You say no because X, Y, and Z.
And as I said, it's very often by saying no, by maintaining a boundary, you can actually give more. Or you can give in an appropriate way because you're not run ragged, you're not spread thin in a particular way. So again, that's one of the big ways. Another one for me is visualizations.
Yeah,
work really, really well. So again, on the outside of my aura, the outside of my egg, I like to see different colors coating my aura. So particularly things like gold is very protective. Sometimes I use really dark blue if I want to go slightly incognito. Things like purple are hugely kind of protective as well. Crystals for the same reason. Again, just remember to cleanse them and attune them to that. So it's kind of, I cleanse this crystal, I attune this crystal to protecting my energies or maintaining my energies against anything that doesn't serve me. So they're really, really kind of great ways. I've also developed the aura spray. So aura sprays are really kind of great for it because again it's all about intention. So when I kind of, as beautifully demonstrated by Jamie there,
having a spritz,
again it's like a little ceremony in a bottle, so that's why I really like doing it. It's kind of sets his intention. It's just that little ritualistic thing of, so for some people that's kind of smudging and Palo Santo. For me, I use the spray because you don't have to
It smells beautiful.
Smells beautiful.
You don't have to burn anything.
Exactly.
Which we can't do in our studio because we wouldn't get away with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, Palo Santo is great, but it is kind of, it belongs to a different culture. So things like rosemary, if you're kind of more in the Europe, I would say things like rosemary and thyme or yarrow or any of these other herbs are really, really wonderful. But again, it's just that ritualistic thing. It's about setting that intention. That there's the things that tend to really, really work.
So it's fine to use these kind of, you know, third party things, but we still have to have an intention for them, right? We can't just wave it around. We can't just spritz ourselves and it's enough. We still have to say in our head or out loud kind of why we're doing this.
100%. Because otherwise you might as well be waving around a hot dog, really.
Yeah.
You know, there are kind of scientific benefits to Palo Santo and sage and all of that stuff. So that's a bit glib for me to say, but you know, it's going to be 20 times more powerful with intention.
Yes.
You know, that intention will kind of still be there because normally people buy these kind of things with that
with
in
the
mind.
Intention of what it's going to do.
But if you're saying it as you're doing it, yes, it's going to be that much more potent, that much more kind of thing. And please know that if you try these techniques and it doesn't work initially, don't be disheartened, don't be dissuaded, don't be discouraged, because very often, again, it's about bringing things back into balance. So if we've been so far at the one end of the spectrum, we've not been able to maintain those boundaries or not being able to kind of that self-care or that self-awareness or being able to kind of rid ourselves of particular things. That is just, you can't expect that to just change in an instant. That is an accumulative thing.
Yeah.
Again, going back to what we were saying a little bit before, it is also about recognizing, and this is why grounding and maintaining is so important, is about maintaining what environments aren't working for you, what relationships aren't working for you, because you can do all the protection that you want in the world, but if you keep putting yourself in the same scenario or the same kind of quote unquote danger zone, then you can't really be surprised that these things keep showing themselves. So we have to be slightly, but one of the best things to do in terms of grounding and kind of clearing and cleansing is just change the scene. Go out for a walk, just like we said before. That is as much, you know, we said before, we go for walks on the beach, and that sea air for me is about one of the most cleansing, clearing, protective things. It just really blows out the cobwebs. One of my other favorite techniques is salt baths.
Yep.
Love salt baths. Also sound baths, and those I feel really kind of great for my spiritual hygiene. But if you get some Himalayan salt, and again, just before you drop the salt in, setting that intention, may this salt clear any energies from my system that don't serve me and my highest good, something along those lines. Brilliant. Really, really, really great. I just feel so much. That's really great thing to do when you're feeling kind of energetically mucky.
Yeah.
And you just need that kind of spruce.
Even just washing your hands, right? So then if you've come into contact with somebody and you feel like you have taken on some of their crap, so to speak, or you've come out of a session or one-to-one session and it's been quite a hard session and there's been quite a lot of emotion, just going to the bathroom with soap, washing your hands. And again, you love your idioms. What's the idiom you will say? I wash my hands of you. So it's that thing. And so that's a boundary, right? It's saying that we've done that work. Yes, we were present for you. We were empathetic. We listened and we were encouraging. But as soon as you leave that situation, there is no point you taking that with you. Completely. So you wash your hands with that intention and wash your hands and up your arms a little bit. And you say, I let go of anything that doesn't belong to me. Take away anything that doesn't belong to me and wash it away.
Yeah, brilliantly said. It's why I'll either wash my hands. If I can't do that, I've got a little bell. in case you didn't know what a bell sounded like. I've got a bell that I sometimes ring between sittings as well, just marking that. And what you said there is so, so important. It's about not allowing things to be kind of maintained or kind of dragged out for too long. So if you catch yourself ruminating on a particular situation, usually something like an argument, again, that's quite a natural part of the human existence, but just being able to kind of energetically wash yourself of that situation as soon as possible is great. And, you know, what I wash my hands with you can sometimes sound a bit like a exasperated mother kind of getting rid of her tearaway sons, but it's not, there's nothing malicious about it. There's nothing ruthless about it. It's actually just, again, going, this is what's mine, that's what's yours. The other thing that I wanted to talk about in relation to this subject, because it's something that I get asked all the time, and there's quite a lot of fear around, is entities. A lot of people assume that protecting is about protecting against entities. Now, obviously, we spoke about that experience in your former room and that thing on the wardrobe, and, you know, it's not unheard of, but what I want to say is it's super, super, super rare. In all of the time that I have been doing readings, I have done hundreds, if not thousands of readings. I've probably seen it twice in all of that time, or something, there's something. And, you know, even in those instances, it wasn't so untoward that I was kind of unnerved necessarily. I just thought, oh, that doesn't belong to you, and it's taken a certain form. And I do understand, again, particularly those that have trained with me, they often come with this thing of they've started opening up to spirit or opening up spiritually, and they felt slightly unnerved, or they felt that they haven't had control over what's coming in. And the thing that I always say about protection is, you, just like you wouldn't open the front door of your house and leave it open all night, so too shouldn't we leave our energetic doors open all night. So this is why it's so important about grounding and protection. And it is about regaining control. So these techniques are about regaining control so that you are in control of it. It is not in control of you. But this whole obsession with kind of entities, and again, it's so fear-based. And that's not to deny their existence, but that isn't the primary reason that we should be doing this. The primary reason that we should be doing this is self-care, self-nurture, and for our spiritual hygiene. And remember that nothing can work against us or a higher power if we are coming through on a vibration of love or the divine. So again, one of the techniques that I use a lot is about bringing through a white light. Just imagining a white light either sweeping through my room, sweeping through my own energy system, again, that very pure divine white light, and clearing away anything that doesn't belong to me. And as part and parcel of that, again, I think we have to be slightly careful about this language around negative energy. Oh, negative's bad. Oh, it's bad, it's good. This kind of, somehow this divide. It's like poor negative energy. It's like it hasn't done anything. You know, we need that polarity. Everything needs the polarity because it helps. It's black and white. It's kind of light and dark. It's feminine, masculine. It's yin yang. So we need this polarity to understand that it's a gradient as well. So the language I tend to encourage more is it's either spent, stale, or stagnant energy. So if it's one of those and we don't need it, and again, I often send that energy, again with intention, I send that back to source, or I send that back to where it can be transmuted for its highest purpose or its highest power. I do not send that energy back to light, because again, this is often a language that I hear quite a lot, because personally, I see not all energy needs to go back to the light. It doesn't necessarily all belong to the light. So we just have to be slightly careful. What I call the white light brigade. If you douse everything in white light, it will be fine. And it's a bit more nuanced than that. And again, just very finally, this kind of maintaining this protection and grounding isn't about making everything perfect or about making everything absolutely okay. It can be about just being best able to handle the situations that come to us. So it's not about, if I'm really hot up on my protection, I will never lose anything. I will never drop anything. Nothing bad will ever happen to me. No, it's just you'll be much quicker to come back to your center.
Yeah.
You'll be more able to act rather than react. But I really hope that that's kind of insightful and as we always say, if you've got any more questions on any of that, do feel free to reach out to us either on Instagram, drop us an email, any of those questions that you need to ask, absolutely fine. We've also got some blog posts about this on the website as well. So if you want to read more tips and kind of...
And of course,
insights.
you can buy Aura Spray as well. It does smell beautiful. Remind me what's in this Fiongal?
So predominantly it's rose.
That's right.
I just love that kind of very healing, very kind of cleansing sense of rose, but it's got other essential oils and moon charged crystals in there as well.
Amazing. Beautiful. Yeah. I'm going to have another spritz just before we do. One more spritz. And then Fiongal is going to do his reading. He's going to pull a tarot card for you.
So the card that we have is Death. Ooh. Death is an interesting one. It's a major arcana, so it's quite a big message here. Often a misconception about death. It doesn't always mean literal death. I often see it more as a kind of, more as a shedding of a skin. So it's about cycles, basically. For those that are kind of watching the video, you'll see that there's a sun rising in the background. So it's really interesting of everything that we've been talking about today. So for me, it's the tarot reminding us, let go of what needs to be let go of. It's about shedding. It's about this thing of, sometimes we can hold on to things because we're unprepared to let them go. So it's about having an honest examination of, am I willing to let go of that situation? Am I willing to forgive? Am I willing to forget? Am I willing to kind of, just let it go? And sometimes, honestly, when we dig under it, we can sometimes go, no, we're not. It's, we're still, there's a part of us that isn't karmically ready to let go of that. And which is okay. But this is just an invitation to look at those recurring themes that seem to be coming back and back again, and those situations that you can't seem to kind of overcome or you can't seem to let go of. It's about, using all the tools that we've given you and the prompts that we've given you about going, I'm prepared to say it out loud. Say something that you're really wanting to let go, get rid of, that you're no longer serving you in your life, and say, I am ready to let go of X. I am ready to let go of X. And just welcome in that new dawn, welcome in that new day.
Beautiful. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
And that's the end of this week's episode. We'd love to hear what you think or suggestions of what we could cover in future. Either leave us a comment if the platform you're listening on allows it, or drop us an email, hello@wellnessfoundry.co.uk. Alternatively, DM us on Instagram. Be sure to hit subscribe or follow to stay up to date with the latest releases. But until next time, love and blessings.